Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be reacting to what Ron Rivera said on Ben Standig's podcast, basically saying that it's Ryan Fitzpatrick's job to have, but he also said to not discount Taylor Heinicke. So we'll talk about his comments and how it affects the quarterback competition moving forward and who I think will be the starter. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video. Also guys, comment down below who you think will be the starter and who you want to be the starter. And huge shout out to Ben Standig. He had Ron Rivera on his podcast for about 20 minutes. So make sure you guys check that out. Great podcast. So let's get right into it. Some very interesting comments from Ron Rivera, basically, talking about the quarterback position, and he kind of basically dismissed the thought of Kyle Allen even competing for the spot. He really thinks it's between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heinicke, but kind of, leaning towards Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was asked by Ben Standig, what is, one player that you're looking forward to seeing, and he kind of said that he's looking forward to seeing, the quarterback position as a whole. And he said, and there's two people that we're going to be watching closely, and he said Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heinicke. And then he said another comment which was really telling in my opinion. He said Ryan has the job right now and it's his to have. I'm not going to say his to lose. I think that's the wrong way to look at things. It's his to have. Rivera said if he goes out and does the things that he's done in the past, do the things that we saw in OTAs and minicamp, the way that he's built a rapport with his teammates on both sides of the ball, I think that's important. So he's basically saying if Fitzpatrick continues to do what he's done, he's most likely going to be the starter. But he also said, I'm not going to discount Taylor Heinicke. He brought up, how Taylor Heinicke did some nice things last year. I'll read it, the quote actually right here. The things that Taylor did last year, the momentum he built as a player, you've got to give them equal opportunities and equal chance, Rivera said. And that's what I want to do. I want to create that here. I think it's important. I think it's important for everybody to see it. Players, coaches, I think that's how you develop your football team. And, very interesting that he didn't bring up Kyle Allen as, pretty much at all. So it's really a two-man race. I think, from those comments, basically saying Ryan Fitzpatrick has the job right now, pretty much saying that Fitzpatrick, as long as he does what he's, been doing, he's going to be the starter. But Taylor Heinicke is not, I wouldn't say locked in as the backup, but he's pretty much, there's not much competition for that backup spot. And if, Fitzpatrick starts to struggle early, I don't think Rivera is going to have, a hard time just putting in Taylor Heinicke, because I do think he trusts him. I think Scott Turner also trusts him. And, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what these two guys do in the preseason. I'm really excited to see Taylor Heinicke play because, we have to be real. We've only seen Taylor Heinicke play for Washington for, 1.5 games. So let's, even though it's preseason, I think it is valuable football. So I want to see what he can do then as well, working with the ones and the twos. I cannot wait to see that. But, the biggest takeaways from this is, Fitzpatrick is likely the starter, but Rivera really does like Heinicke and, likes the things that he offers. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to, develop him a little bit more this season and potentially be an option moving forward. Yes, they still might go after and, get a disgruntled quarterback if they have the chance to get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or another guy, but they might be content with continuing to develop Taylor Heinicke. That's another option that they have. I think they have him under contract for 2 years. So, they have to know, though, before his contract comes up, though. That is something that they have to keep in mind. But I'm excited to see how this quarterback competition goes. At the end of the day, though, I think it's going to be Fitzpatrick. You can see pretty much from these comments that Rivera says it's likely going to be Fitzpatrick, but I'm excited to see how Taylor Heinicke, pushes Fitzpatrick. You see right here, Fitzpatrick had a solid year last year, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, had the 5th highest QBR out of any quarterback. And let's see how many rushing yards he had. He had 151 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And Heinicke, last year, he played in 1 game in the regular season, really half a game, was 12 for 19, 63% completion percentage, 137 yards, and 1 touchdown. Excited to see what he can do, this preseason and maybe even this season if he gets playing time to build off on, both strong performances that he had last year. So some other, comments from this, interview that I thought were, I thought this interview was, really well done by Ben Standig. They talked about, trying to keep all these defensive linemen, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to keep Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, Matt Ioannidis, and, Chase Young. And Rivera says, we'll see how it goes. The one thing that we're fortunate about right now is we don't have a high-ticket, high-priced quarterback that we've got to worry about for the future. Now, eventually, that may come about, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can figure out how to handle that. But right now, we're going to take it 1 year at a time. So, you guys can read, some of the rest of the quotes. So I do agree with that. We are fortunate that we don't have, a big ticket quarterback that's, taking a bunch of our salary cap, at least in the sense that we don't have to, move on from, a couple of our defensive linemen right now. But eventually that might come, because Fitzpatrick's on a 1-year deal, Heinicke's on a 2-year deal. So they might eventually get a big name quarterback that, is on the books for a lot. But here's the thing. If they, if Heinicke becomes their guy, or if they draft a quarterback early, they'll be on cheaper deals and they'll still be able to keep, their defensive linemen, at least, more likely than if you sign a big name veteran. So, and he also said one thing that I thought was interesting. He says, the value, I don't know if it's in this article, but in the interview on the podcast, he said that the players with positional flexibility, their value goes up. So I really think that, when we're trying to decide, who we think is going to make the roster, I think we do have to keep that in mind, because Ron Rivera loves positional flexibility. So if we're thinking, it's between 2 guys, maybe the guy with positional flexibility has, the edge over the guy who does not. He also talked about, players that they could bring in. He likes the guys they have right now, but maybe in training camp or later on, they will bring in some guys, whether it's an edge rusher, another backup tight end, a running back. That's pretty much what he said. So they like the guys they have right now, but they're gonna, if they do need after training camp or during training camp, they'll bring in some other guys. So, I thought, again, this is a great interview by Ben Standig. Make sure you guys check it out on The Athletic and on his podcast, the Standig Room Only podcast. Let me know, like I said, who do you want to be the starting quarterback and who you think it will be? Again, I think it's going to be Fitzpatrick, as long as he does what he's done so far in camp, or as long as, Heinicke just doesn't absolutely, kill it in training camp in the preseason, because, Rivera did say there's going to be a quarterback competition. So if that's true and Heinicke's clearly beating him out, I do think Rivera will, put him as the starter, but we'll see. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, turn on those notifications, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace. I will have a Taylor Heinicke video out in the next couple weeks, so stay tuned for that.